Good news, you do not need money to start a business. In fact, businesses started with too much capital up front tend to be big and bloated and inefficient. So by starting a business with no money, you are forcing yourself to build a very efficient business that's going to be able to scale and grow moving forward into the future. So I've been asking my viewers, what are the blocks that are stopping you from starting a business? And this is a question from Yentino saying money. This is a big one. Obviously, a lot of people have been saying this, and it makes sense. It's the assumption that you do need money to start a business. I would say that for a traditional business where it is physical, let's say a restaurant or a hairdresser, yes, you're going to need cash and you're going to need investment up front. So you need to rent out a place, get a lease for a couple of years, you're going to need staffing, you're going to need equipment, you're going to need to refurb everything. It costs money, hundreds of thousands. Those kind of businesses tend to be very high risk for that particular reason, because you sink a lot of cash in up front and then you won't see any profits for 2 or 3 years. At the very minimum, because you've put so much cash in up front. And then even then, your margins are going to be quite low because you are still paying rent, you're paying staff, you're paying for all this equipment. It's just quite an expensive way to do business. This is why, I forget the number, but the vast majority of restaurants fail for this exact reason. The economics are not very good. What I suggest is, for your first business at least, when you do not have much starting capital, where you have two options. You can either raise cash, or you can do something called bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is where you use the cash you're making from the business to grow the business. Raising cash is difficult when it's your first business because you do not have a track record. So if you go to the bank, or if you go to angel investors, or you go to VCs and you say, I need $500,000 to start this up, they're going to be like, well, what have you done before? They need to know that their investment is secure and they're going to get it back. And if you've not built a business before, they're going to say, no, you can't have any money. Can you blame them? I mean, that makes a huge amount of sense to me. So if it's your first business, you either need to get that cash from your work, which is doable, but it's tricky, and then you can invest it in, but that's very high risk. Or you can do something called bootstrapping. So bootstrapping means I will start a business with low or no cash. I will start to generate cash using the business, and then I will reinvest that cash, not into myself. I'm not going to pay myself very much, but I'm going to reinvest it into the business in order to grow the business, so that month on month it gets bigger and the incoming cash gets bigger as well, and therefore the amount I can reinvest into the business grows, and it allows you to snowball. The best way to do this is you're going to need something that doesn't require much upfront cost. So there's two ways. You can either do a service business. So if you are an expert or skilled in something, I would recommend starting with freelancing or consulting on the side. So it's a way for you to start to generate cash outside of your 9 to 5 using skills that you already have. And because it is based on your time, it's based on an hour of your time or a week of your time to do a project, there's no upfront cost apart from your time. It's about really is about your expertise, and there are no or very few overheads on top of that. The problem with this obviously is that it is tied to your time. You can only do a certain number of hours per week, so there's always going to be a limit to how much cash you can produce doing that. You can put your rates up, but there's still going to be a limit. So what the other thing I'd recommend is looking at is a digital product. So my first online business is I sold physical products, and it's a nightmare. You do need cash to buy the initial inventory. You need cash to send it all around the world. It's much higher risk than a digital product, which is basically, it can be a PDF, it can be a video course, it can be templates for a website, whatever it is in your particular niche that would be valuable to people, your customers. You build a digital version of it, and then you can deliver it via a service like Gumroad. I personally still use Gumroad, it's great. So you do not need to pay Gumroad anything, but they take 10% of all your earnings. So you can sell guides, for example. So things like this book that I sell, this started as guides that I sold for a few dollars each, and I would promote them on social media via my newsletter, and that would generate cash flow. So there's very little cash required for you to get started. What you're using instead is your time and your expertise, but not cash. So it's a method called bootstrapping, if you want to learn more about it. A lot of the businesses that I teach and how to make money online using AI and building digital products and digital services, etc., they're all based on bootstrapping principles. They are not based on raising cash or having cash in the first place. because I do not think that is the best business for a first-time business owner to start. I always say start with digital products, start with services, selling your time, use that to raise the cash, and then you can go from there. So we always bootstrap in all of the guides I've written. So if you read any of my books, if you read my newsletter, if you have access to the Vault or any of my courses, that's always going to be the lesson that I teach, because that de-risks you. You're not taking out a loan for $500,000 that you are then on the hook for, and it allows you to slowly build up and to build the business of your dreams on your own time with very little cash to start.